You ever have one of those days where you're just so sure you're living in a sitcom, except nobody's laughing? Because let me tell you, when your HOA president is standing in your driveway, shrieking, "I'm calling the cops on you right now," just as your wife comes home from an 8-month deployment on the USS Truman, you start to wonder if you missed the hidden cameras somewhere. My wife Emily was still in her wrinkled travel clothes, duffel bag on her shoulder, just trying to get through the front door and breathe in a little peace. But this woman had other ideas. She called the police and said I was threatening her with a weapon. And when the cops showed up, all set to arrest some dangerous criminal, everything changed the moment Emily stepped out and they saw who she really was. Maggie Stone's face, yeah, our illustrious HOA president, turned the color of skim milk, and for a second you could almost see her whole world crumbling. Now, to give you the full picture, you gotta back up a sec. The Welcome Home Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez sign I'd painted myself lasted maybe 3 hours before I realized I was living next to a monster. See, I'd spent 8 months counting the days until Emily got back. I wanted everything to be perfect. Blue letters on a white background, nothing too flashy, just a simple, proud welcome. I hung it on the porch, imagined her tired smile when she saw it. We bought this place in Riverside Heights, just outside Phoenix, thinking we'd found our forever home. A modest 3-bed, little yard, HOA that kept the street clean, that kind of thing. 2 months before Emily's return, some developer tried to buy us out for a great price. I laughed and said no thanks. Yeah, hindsight, right? So the morning I put up that sign, I was floating, house spotless, Emily's favorite flowers on the table, Mrs. Patterson across the street waving and promising a casserole. Everything felt right. Then Maggie Stone came rolling in like a monsoon. Now, Maggie, she's the kind of person who always looks like she's heading into a board meeting, even when she's just grabbing the mail. Didn't bother saying hello, just stood on my sidewalk, snapped a dozen photos of my sign, measured the porch like she was taping off a crime scene. Some people think the rules don't apply to them. She announced loud enough for the block to hear, then stomped back inside. Mrs. Patterson and I just stared at each other. Nobody knew what hit us. That night, after picking Emily up from the airport, God, I wish you could have seen her face when she saw the sign. She was exhausted but lit up like a kid on Christmas. We kissed right there in the driveway. She listened to my story about Maggie, gave me this look she usually saves for actual threats, and said, "Let's just lay low. I'm too tired for neighborhood drama." But at 11 p.m., our doorbell cam caught Maggie out front, bathrobe and slippers, measuring the sign again, muttering to herself, scribbling notes like some weird HOA gremlin. I showed Emily the video the next morning. She went full military, posture straight, eyes scanning for intel. "She's planning something," she said. Question is, what? By 8:15 the next morning, the answer landed in my inbox. Violation notice, section 15.3, unauthorized signage. And let me tell you, when a Karen realizes she's picked a fight with a decorated Navy officer, yeah, things get weird. I figured if I just took the sign down, it would all blow over. But Emily, she saw right through it. "You don't have to do that," she said, and I could see the disappointment flash in her eyes. But I'd already seen something worse in the HOA rules. Turns out, every violation was added just 3 weeks ago, right before Emily's scheduled return. Every rule my sign broke was brand new. Did that stop Maggie? Of course not. The next week, it was a $50 fine for our Navy doormat, $75 for planter height, $100 for improper vehicle positioning, even $25 because some leaves from our tree blew onto the sidewalk. Every morning, new email, new fine, like clockwork. Emily started to lose patience. "This is harassment," she said, and she wasn't wrong. Our neighbor Frank, retired accountant, soft-spoken guy, stopped by and told me Maggie had done the same to him. Cost him $500 over a garden gnome before he caved. Turns out, he'd gotten the same quick sale call from Sterling Development right after Maggie started her campaign. Weird, right? Things came to a head one Thursday while I was planting new flowers. Maggie marched up with Mrs. Patterson and another neighbor in tow, shouting for the whole block that she'd call the cops if we didn't follow the rules. Emily watched from the window, her military bearing unmistakable, but I was afraid to push back. That night, surrounded by printed emails and HOA docs, Emily pieced it all together. Every rule, every violation, all changed 3 weeks before she got home. This isn't random, she said. She planned the whole thing. The next morning, just as I'm doing yard work, 2 police cars roll up. Maggie had called them, claimed I was threatening her with a weapon, my hedge trimmers. I stood there, feeling ridiculous, as the younger officer questioned me and the older one sized up the situation. Maggie hid behind the patrol car, all trembling and drama. He was threatening me, she insisted. That's when Emily stepped outside. Jeans, t-shirt, nothing special except the way she carried herself. The officer asked for ID, glanced at her military card, then did a double take. Lieutenant Colonel Emily Rodriguez, USS Truman, he asked, voice changing from suspicion to respect in a heartbeat. Yes, sir, Emily said. The officers thanked her for her service. Maggie's face? I wish I could have taken a picture. She started to crumble. The cops turned on her. Ma'am, false reports are a crime. Maggie sputtered and ranted. Neighbors came out to watch. Mrs. Patterson looked mortified. After the cops left, Emily and I burst out laughing. 8 months in Afghanistan, and she comes home to this. But Maggie wasn't done. Next day, a courier delivered legal papers, lawsuit for defamation, harassment, emotional distress, $15,000 in damages. Emily read through it, realizing Maggie was using HOA money, our neighbor's money, to pay her lawyers. By Sunday, Maggie was bragging around the neighborhood about her brilliant legal strategy. Neighbors started avoiding us. Emily spent the next days buried in documents, while I started thinking maybe we should just sell and move. I didn't serve 15 years to let bullies win, Emily said. Suddenly all Navy again. That's when Frank came by with a thick folder. HOA finances, call records, emails. Turns out, Maggie had ramped up fees for legal expenses, but nobody'd seen improvements. Even more suspicious, he'd tracked Maggie's digital trail, found out she'd accessed my private email through the HOA system. Emily snapped into action, turning our dining room into a tactical ops center, colored string, charts, timelines. We found Maggie had created a fake landscaping company, Stone Quality Services, billing thousands in consulting fees to herself, using HOA funds to buy handbags and take Napa vacations. Ring cameras proved no work was ever done. Every victim Maggie harassed got a call from Sterling Development, offering a buyout, always timed perfectly with her attacks. Emily gathered the evidence, and we called a secret meeting. 7 families, all with the same story. Sudden rule changes. Escalating fines, pressure to sell, then a miracle offer from Sterling. Emily dug deeper and discovered the smoking gun, emails between Maggie and Sterling, laying out a plan to force key families to sell for a new luxury development, Sunset Meadows, right where our home stood. Maggie would harass, Sterling would buy cheap. Maggie would get kickbacks. We organized an emergency HOA meeting. Emily presented everything: audio of Maggie's 911 call, ring footage, fraudulent invoices, social posts about her designer bags bought with our dues, the whole scheme exposed. The room went silent, then erupted. Frank called for a no-confidence vote. 28 for removal, only Maggie herself against. Maggie lost it, screaming lawsuits and discrimination, vowing revenge as neighbors recorded her meltdown. Emily referred the whole mess to the district attorney and the FBI. 6 months later, Maggie's house has a foreclosure sign. She moved out just ahead of fraud charges. Sterling's project got canceled. Frank is our new HOA president, cut fees by 1/3, fixed up the place for real. Emily's sign is back on our porch. Our neighbors wave again. Mrs. Patterson bakes us casseroles. Riverside Heights feels like home. So tell me, what would you do if your HOA tried to steal your home? Comment, justice served, if you think every neighborhood bully deserves to get what's coming.